Welcome to War Cradle Studios. I'm Lee, and with me is Stuart.
Hello.
And today we're going to give you an exclusive sneak peek of a posse which is coming out for Wild West Exodus in 2018. And today we're talking about a posse for one of my favourite factions, which is the Enlightened.
Yes, absolutely. The Soul Hunters, led by Augur Warwick Hudson. Soul Hunters are really interesting posse. So one of the things that Wild West Exodus brings in its updated edition is that the theming that gets in and around a boss is becoming more important as the game goes on. It's a great way of adding. What I love about the posses and the way they are is it's a great way of adding a totally new flavour, a totally new theme to your army without having to. To your force, without having to kind of reinvent everything and kind of buy loads of stuff. And what you can do is you can have Carpathian, which is a fantastic boss of the Enlightened, or
Edison.
Well, I was going to say your favourite Edison. So you can have like Discordant Symphony or Father of the Enlightened or whatever posses that you're playing with.
Eiffel.
Yeah,
all good bosses.
Or the Countess, let's name it, Carl the Black. So you've got all these various bosses for the Enlightened. Each one of them has their own theme, as you would expect. What's great, though, about as we're going forward is that we're able to make the themes much more distinctive, because essentially we're not just introducing a boss and then we're saying that some of the existing characters are part of that, and and then maybe adding some bits to it. We're able to actually introduce a whole new, not only a boss, but a whole new group of faces and other characters and support, all as part of that theme. So, it's not always the case, but I think certainly with the Soul Hunters, there's a very clear theme going through them as a group. And what that lets us do is it lets us sort of have a bit of fun and kind of explore the balances within the posse more. So it means that as the player gets something really interesting to use on the tabletop, but it also lets us, from a narrative point of view, lets us explore some themes as well that we haven't yet had the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, and they're still very much embedded within the Enlightened because they're a bunch of eccentric geniuses, shall we say?
Ticks that box for the Enlightened.
Who have come together to experiment and to try out new technologies to uncover a piece of truth about the world that they live in.
Yes, which is true. You're absolutely right, Lee. That's true of all the Enlightened. Each of the bosses, each of the lords or the ladies of the Enlightened, that is what they believe. They believe that whatever their particular field of expertise or interest is, that is the most important thing to the enlightenment of humanity. However, because they tend to be geniuses, it means that tends to be to the exclusion of all other things. That only the thing that they think is important can possibly be important. Everything else is just, that might be so-and-so's area of specialisation, but what do they know?
But even so-and-so over there is absolutely wrong about our field of research. I am the only one who's got the true research, the proper ideas. This is how it should be.
Well, yes, and because of the way the Enlightened work, what tends to happen is because they have their symposia where they'll argue about various bits and pieces and they'll make very strong arguments for it and strong cases, there tends to be some kind of natural humiliation. Whichever one doesn't get their point across sufficiently, there tends to be a fall from grace and a humiliation involved. The creator of the Black Hoof and the creator of the Iron Horse, famously, in fact, it's in the background in the rulebook, they had a disagreement, more than a disagreement, about the future of locomotion. And as is evidenced by the plethora of Iron Horse and Iron Horse variants on the tabletop, the Iron Horse became the more popular mode of transportation. And there was unpleasant consequences for the inventor of the Iron Hoof, but a Black Hoof, sorry. But we'll
explore that another time.
Yeah, indeed. So we have Augur Warwick Hudson. So Augur is his title. It's quite common for the Enlightened to either invent new words or titles for themselves. The Enlightened would argue that all words are made up. So
the more pompous and important sounding, the better.
Well, yes, absolutely. Warwick Hudson is fascinated by the idea of, though he appreciates this world, he is fascinated by what lies beyond, by what lies, the veil of the flesh world. What is beyond that? Is there more to us than simply flesh and bone and brain matter and electrical discharges? The soul of humanity is what occupies his thinking. In order to understand that more, though, he needs to quantify it. Like all good enlightened lords and ladies, it needs to be captured, it needs to be studied, it needs to be dissected, it needs to be commodified. Can we then apply the soul to something else? Can we use that? Can we take the soul from the living, and can we?
It's a natural resource to be exploited.
Absolutely, like any other. So he has formed his little cadre, his posse of soul hunters. Their technology and their genius is applied to that field and that field alone. The souls that they hunt are from all sorts of sources. They're not just after what we would consider ghosts, all the spirits. So, for example, the warrior nation, the spirit power the warrior nation uses, the animal spirits. They find that fascinating. Is there a way to draw that animal spirit out of the human?
Because the savages are obviously not utilising it to its fullest potential.
Well, how could they? Because they're so primitive.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's something that they are interested in. They have very shaky recollections, but they have encountered the forces of the order, the religious forces of the order. And though they're aware that the militia, the spiker, have some weaponry that has some kind of spiritual element to it, they're absolutely, because they're accompanied by these hulking suits of armour, who they refer to as corcorolus, or the corcoroli, there's clearly something spiritual going on there. And what if one of those giants were to fall? Is there some way to draw that spiritual energy out of them and capture it before the order kind of sequester it away? So, yeah, they're interested in that. They're also interested in the alien. So they know, the Enlightened are aware that there are creatures from beyond our world, not metaphysically speaking, but literally speaking, that there are alien creatures walking the earth. Some of those have, either through technology or through their own body type, they have some etheric quality, some spiritual quality. Is there a way that can be harnessed? Is that true spirit, or is it something too alien? Either way, let's get it on the table.
So they're seeing things in the world, and they're, rather than taking a rational scientific view, they're immediately latching onto it as something related to their specific field of study, even if it makes them seem foolish in the eyes of other enlightened.
Yes, I mean the same's true of any of the enlightened. But I mean, you say a rational scientific method.
That is what they will apply to it. But rather than thinking, oh look, that blinking light might just be a broken light bulb, that's obviously a spirit. I'll go capture it.
Is there something there? Let's get the meters out. Let's get the variances checked and so on. But obviously from the enlightened point of view, or particularly from the soul hunters' point of view, they are scientists. So if they believe that something is right and needs to be explored, that is proper scientific method, because they are proper scientists.
And not kooks.
Not kooks. No. Heaven forfend. I mean, that would involve them doing ludicrous things like. So let's have a look at Hans Spellman. So Spellman is one of the technical geniuses who ensures that Warwick Hudson's posse is well equipped. He's very rarely seen outside of his suit, his equipment. Yeah, I mean, you don't see very much of him other than really his eyes, and even then, they're usually lensed up. He does all sorts of strange things. He does a thing called void diving, which is kind of a little unusual, where he can lock a large domed helmet onto his suit that he wears, and he will go leaping into portals and then try and walk around, not walking around to get to another portal, but actually just walking around in the space between worlds and seeing what's there.
He's an interdimensional tourist.
Yeah, an interdimensional tourist. That's an interesting way of putting it. Yeah, they're like most of the soul hunters, though. he's pretty eccentric and eclectic, even for the Enlightened
So
standards.
if he finds something dangerous, rather than think, "Oh, that looks dangerous, I'll leave now," he'd be like, "Ooh, look at that!
What does
Let's
that
walk
do?"
closer to it and see
Yeah.
what we can find out."
Yeah, he's like in all good B movies. He's the guy where he sees a strange creature and decides to take his helmet off and lean forward and see what. I'm going to get a closer look. Yeah, absolutely. We have Erin Meltzer. So Meltzer is relatively personable for the Soul Hunters. She likes people. She likes to talk to people. She believes she can sense auras in people, that she can sense the kind of person they are just by the energy that they give off. She's keen on getting technology to kind of measure that, but if they can't, Hudson is very skeptical. Even and he's seen a lot of stuff, but he's not quite so sure about that. Meltzer, she swears blind by it, and she believes that's how she can tell if somebody's a good person or not, just by feeling their aura. We have Jocasta Tobin. She's very practical. She's not frightened of rolling her hands up. That would be something completely different. Rolling her sleeves up and getting stuck in. She's quite hands-on. She's also she has quite a good sense of humour, and she does. She's probably as close to a skeptic as you would get in the Soul Hunters. Although she's still a scientist, she still embraces the work they do, but she does sometimes look at her fellow Soul Hunters and thinks that I'm not sure that's a particularly good idea what you're doing there. So she tends to be the voice of reason. It might not be a listened to voice of reason, but she's a voice of reason in the posse. Catherine Holst is alongside Spellman. Holst is the technical genius. Whereas Spellman, though, will go and do his void diving and will kind of get lost in the moment, she tends to work on various forms of technology that are, she's the one that's trying to almost weaponize spirits, and she's seen what the Warrior Nation and other forces can do with it, so she knows that there is
She knows where the money is.
yeah, perhaps. So she's trying to work out, but unfortunately that often means that she tends to blow buildings up and detonate backpacks and all sorts of things. If you're lucky, you're not wearing it at the time. But so she's an important asset to the Soul Hunters, but kept at a bit of an arm's length by the rest of them. Somebody who enjoys keeping people at arm's length, only just so he can observe his magnificent arms, is Ernesto Volk. So Volk is fascinated by the spirit world, like all of the rest of the Enlightened, or the spirit hunters, Soul Hunters. But Volk doesn't mean just because you're interested in the afterlife doesn't mean that you should neglect the temple that is his body. So
the material and hedonistic world of which we actually live in.
Yeah, he doesn't think the two are unrelated. So healthy body, healthy mind, that kind of thing. Why that means that he runs around with a leather waistcoat and not a lot else on is not entirely explained, but he does love a beautiful body. That's for sure, and a magnificent moustache as well. So those are the 6 members that make up the posse. There is another Soul Hunter, which is a separate release, which is Mr. Ears. So we said that they were slightly eclectic and a little odd, even for Enlightened.
Well, everyone's got to have a hobby. Mr. Ears is trying out different forms.
Yeah, so Mr. Ears is actually human. Well, his brain is human, but the rest of him is not so much. The rest of him is gorilla.
It's nearly human. It's as close to human as you can get without actually being human.
Yes, perhaps. He is. Yeah, so he's gorilla. Like all good Enlightened creations, though, he is a creation. He's not made of one gorilla, though. No. He's made of multiple gorillas, just the gorillas with the best bits. Not only that, although the concept art doesn't have it, he does enjoy wearing a particularly fetching hat, and again that tends to keep his human brain cool, as he does tend to overheat. He uses that large electrical shock to ensnare and to kind of drag down spirits that are trying to amble away, because some of the spirits in the world can be quite violent, particularly when they're about to get trapped. It's Mr. Ears that's used to kind of wrestle them with those massive arms of his and kind of drag the spirits down, anchor them just in time for Hudson or one of the others to bring one of their spirit traps in. Those kind of like large incense devices that they carry, which then draw the spirit in from Mr. Ears's electrical lasso device that he carries. So Mr. Ears brings kind of a strength and a raw physicality to the soul hunters that otherwise they tend to rely more on technology.
He's the key that opens any door by punching it open.
He does. He has a pair of keys. Should he need to get there? But he himself, like all of them, he's on a journey, and obviously his physical body is gone now. He's replaced it, and even his own brain, he continues to experiment on that and work on it. The overheating is a problem, and so he's constantly working out ways to kind of accommodate that. Where that journey takes him, we shall see over time. But certainly, for now, he's a much needed strong right arm
and left arm.
Yes,
and his feet have got a good grip as well.
He has opposable feet, which is very handy. Yes, absolutely. But those are the Soul Hunters, a exciting posse coming out for the Enlightened in 2018.